friends, welcome to Anthropology classes by Sarathy. We have got a basic idea about the prehistoric cultures, starting with the lower Paleolithic and later even middle Paleolithic and upper Paleolithic cultures. And across the world and also in India, middle and upper Paleolithic cultures have transformed into a different kind of entire setup based on the change in the climate. So, what kind of a climate that has changed and which led to the birth of a new lithic culture? Let us have a look at. Good evening, Priyanka. So, Mesolithic, as the name suggests, translates roughly into, when you want to create a word for it, Meso means middle and lithic means stone. So middle stone age is the earlier version, or roughly translates into middle stone age. Middle stone age in the sense that means people were still following lithic traditions, though they have added kerato, dento, and even right osteo industries, that is antler as well as bone and also teeth of animals as raw material. People still continue to use um, stone as the base of the entire tool industry. So tools were modified from the earlier versions of blade tools, and first time the tools have been modified to right to make them suitable for a changed way of life. And what exactly is the new shape? The main idea, or rather in the major Mesolithic cultures in Europe as well as in other parts of the world, were microliths. And as the name suggests, microliths means here micro means very tiny and liths means stones, very tiny stones or stone tools which are very tiny, sometimes 1 by 16th of a centimeter of an inch, sorry, 1 by 16th of an inch is the kind of size, very minute kind of sized tools were made by the people in this age, in this stone age called middle stone age or Mesolithic. And why this name change? Because there was a game change. What was a game like? How it was played? The game change has been ushered in. Rather, it was ushered in because of a big change in the climate as well. Climate change happened across the world, especially in broadly two parts of the world. In North America and Europe, there was one particular kind of climate change, and there was in Asia and Africa, there was one another kind of a particular climate change. So both, in fact, are the major factors responsible. Rather, climate change is the number one factor responsible for this game change. So as a game changed, even the tool assemblages and tool kit have changed, right? So change does not just come like that. Otherwise, upper Paleolithic cultures could have just continued, right? And in certain areas, it was not so clear. The shift from upper Paleolithic to Mesolithic was not so clear. So many areas, right, were called as Epipaleolithic also. Some people call Mesolithic as Epipaleolithic. That means epi means above. Epi stands for above, and naturally this stage Mesolithic was, or rather Epipaleolithic, stood above the Paleolithic. That to which Paleolithic? The last stage of the Paleolithic, that is upper Paleolithic. So above the upper Paleolithic, there was one stage. Some scholars called it as Mesolithic, some called it as Epipaleolithic, and some people even went further and called it as Proto-Neolithic. So we have got several names for this Mesolithic. In India, scholars like D.K. Bhattacharya even called this Mesolithic as a late Stone Age. So see how many names it has got. Technically speaking, if it just translate this Mesolithic term into slightly understandable term, that is middle stone age, number one. This is the general translated one. Second, it is called as Epipaleolithic. Third, it was called as Proto-Neolithic, and four, sometimes even it was called as Late Stone Age, because the Stone Age is almost like nearly over, or because it has become a bit, late in its, continuity when you see from the stone tool typology. So that stone tool typology underwent a change, we have already noted. What is a stone tool typology here? From blade tools, which were like measuring 1 or 2 inches to 3 inches, sometimes even 4 or 5 inches, very big flake hand axes, to microliths, maybe 1 or 2 inches or even smaller than that, for 3 4 centimeters, 2 centimeters, wale microliths. So morphology and stone tool typology also underwent forestry change, and this had some kind of a bearing on the people's lives. So you can all put like this: 1 2 3 4, then another point like this: 1 2, then another point I'm writing here. Is first time in some parts of the world, especially in Europe and the Middle East, people started taking up domestication of plants and animals. Domestication of what? Both. One, on the one hand, we have domestication of plants, and on the other, domestication of the animals. So that made the life of humans a changed life. First time humans started taking new direction in their travel or in their journey towards self-sufficiency, food self-sufficiency. So this was a major breakthrough that we see in the Mesolithic. What kind of climate change that has happened, I'll be explaining in a while. Right? You can see on the screen you have world map here. Why I have put world map here? Such that we know exactly which kind of parts that have happened, like that have come under the change, the kind of climate change I was speaking about. So here, mainly two continents matter to us, rather three continents, not just two continents but three continents. What are the continents? Europe, much part of Europe, right from here, much part of Europe, and the Middle East, including certain parts of Africa and Asia. So all this part, Southeast Asia, yahan pe. So especially in India as well to some extent. So major cultures that we have seen, like um, came from this old world. This is called old world. You see, Europe, Africa, and Asia are called as old world. Why? I'll come to this. I'll just explain what exactly is this, but I want you to take a guess. Why these three continents are together called as old world? Right? Tell me, guys. क्यों इसको old world बोलते हैं? Or rather, all these three continents together. Because it is not new world. And okay, evolution of humans have happened, wonderful, but not is that's not the exact 100% gunshot answer. और भी है, try करो. Or Krishna, you try. What is the idea here? New world matlab oldest burials found there. No. It was not that. See, now I'll give you a clue. Discovery of sea routes or invention, or rather, discovery of sea routes by Europeans in the 15th century, not migration, because they have discovered new continents. पहले इनको क्या मालूम था? They only knew about, like, European fellows. See, this most of our knowledge is written from European dimension, correct? So European Enlightenment era, we have discussed, that has happened, started happening from 14th 15th century end onwards, okay, or middle of 15th century. Then it has gone till the zenith of industrial revolution, and then European angle se dekhna isko, right? Europeans were in contact with Asia as well as Africa. Africa was closer in this direction. Even Asia, slightly Asia is distant, but Middle East was a bit near. So they call it as Near East. Even the Middle East, same parts, this Turkey, Iran, Iraq, Syria, then the Israel, Palestine, Iran, all these are called as together Middle East, and some parts of Africa also, like Egypt and the northern parts of north eastern parts of Africa are called as right, the Near East and the Middle East, because from Europe it is near. Okay, from, if you see from America, it is called Middle East. So whatever it is, Middle East was in touch with these people, and Asia was also in touch with these people, other parts of Asia and Africa. So land routes were available. People used to travel, yeah, and perform trade and migration. All are all correct. You're all right, but they all come second. So people could easily travel through land routes. Land routes were available. So through the land route, you can reach all these continents. But what about Australia, North America, and South America? Could you reach them by land routes in the 15th century? No. But for that reason, they wanted to discover sea routes. I have told you to when Ottoman Empire was blocking the entire land routes, and it was levying heavy charges like toll tax. उससे ही वहां से गुजरना है Turkey and all European traders have to negotiate through these Ottoman Empire's land routes. So, because they were levying very high charges, they needed to discover new routes. That too, because of the improvement of mariners' compass, etc., etc. So, they have put to use this knowledge, newfound knowledge, and they have come across America. First of all, they have found a new thing, new world. America was a new world that was invented, right? Rather, sorry, discovered. It was already existing there, but just they have discovered the sea route. Similarly, Australia, they was later recovered. North America, then South America, then Australia. These three are called as your new world. You see this, they all form your new world. So this is your new world, the other is old world. So what is the point? We are not trying to discuss what exactly is new world or old world. But the point is, um, here we are interested in the idea of a climate change, because as I was telling you, North America and Europe, especially northern parts of, not just one, this one, but northern parts of North America and uh, right, this was under complete ice age. This was ice age, like was covering these till the end of Pleistocene, till Pleistocene end. And what about the climate in India? Like I have also given you dictation, when North America and other parts of the world were under Pleistocene, India was experiencing dry climate and monsoon, right? So Africa, Asia, these continents, right? These continents experienced even till the end of Southeast Asia. These by Pleistocene end, this northern part has become warmer. Earlier it was cooler, now it has become warmer. Here already it was warmer, it has become drier. पूरा dry हो गया है, and many parts like animals started dying. Many animals which are slightly better off and bulky animals, even in Europe, the bulky animals were available even in the lower latitudes. They have migrated to the northern latitudes, like all these Arctic regions. Okay, and what about the animals here? Many of them could not survive. Only small game were available. Small game animals, number one. Second, uh, because of the glaciers melted, because climate has completely changed, right after the end of the Pleistocene. That is about, I forgot to add the time, about 12,000 BC, 12,000 years ago, approximately, nearly 12,000 years ago, or 10,000 BC. In some books, it is written as 10,000 BCE. Now you have to use the term BCE, not BC. Before Common Era. This is the latest usage. Not BC, before Christ Avi. Then the people, archaeologists and prehistorians, prefer now to use this term BCE. Okay, so here climate became warmer at about 12,000 years ago. Gradually it started from Pleistocene end, and the warmer period now is called as Holocene, whatever you call now as 10,000 BCE or 12,000 years ago is Holocene. In the Holocene, the climate in these tropical continents like Africa and Asia, they have become drier, and the small game animals survived. And because glaciers melted, sea levels have risen. not only in Europe but also in other parts of the world, right? Sea levels rose, and it's in some areas the sea levels rose up to 50 feet, like in northern areas, Scandinavia, etc. Sea levels rose up to 50 feet, 100 feet. You can't even imagine how much kind of um, deluge it happens. And because of this, marine animals started appearing, like people started eating marine animals or these mollusks, shell animals, marine food. People started taking up marine food, and a small game is a new thing. So people were having heavy food, bulkier animals in the Pleistocene. Now they had to settle with this. And also in Asia, because of the drier climate, they had to invent, they have to do something new. What is that something new? Because of the climate becoming drier, perhaps according to, if you invoke Gordon Child, in he gives a theory called oasis theory. We have discussed that even in the thought. And everywhere in small measures in the desert areas, right, drier areas, small areas were developing like oases, around which humans settlements came up. Humans used to stay near here, and even animals came near here. So it became easier for the human beings to tame them and domesticate them. On the other hand, the even today you can see in certain parts of the Middle East, or uh, uh, today it is called as Levant, Syria, then Turkey, and some parts of Jordan. All these areas, even today, if you go there, you will find the wilder varieties of wheat, barley, rye, etc. So, what is the meaning of that? These areas have become some kind of fertile crescent to the world. So there was something existing called as, here in this Middle East, right? Fertile crescent. Fertile crescent करके एक बन गया है यहाँ से देखिए. This place, something like, it was crescent shape. I'm actually giving a bigger diagram, but it is still smaller because of the continental size. So perhaps like this. This is called fertile crescent. In this fertile crescent, all these wilder varieties were domesticated regularly. It was said that the women here were the prime movers. They were the ones who were domesticating, and they were experimenting with the wild seeds, and they were cultivating them on a smaller level. I told you baby steps have been taken here. Okay? So to tap these or to harvest them, you need certain new tools. Are you getting this? Earlier, bigger flake tools were available, this much of the size, and putting them together in a sickle. For example, if you want to harvest, how do? You have to develop a sickle, correct? How a sickle is like, a sickle is shaped like this. यहाँ पे कितना बड़ा डालोगे? So it is difficult. Your sizes and shapes, again you have to modify them. So people by the end of the, I mean, starting from the end of the Upper Paleolithic, people started experimenting because of the climate change, because of the need to harvest the wild grain, and again put to them for experimentation, doing like क्या बोलते हैं उसको, that is called as gra- graft बोलते हैं, grafting. They were slowly like doing this grafts, etc., and pollination techniques, self pollination, cross pollination, such that the crops are, earlier the only this much was available, now they will have a good size of the grains, so that their dependency on the game animals and the marine food is not complete. Like they have to complement it with some kind of a assured food supply. So in the Fertile Crescent, people have taken up this, and with that, they needed to develop certain tools which usually sat here, like they were hafted in a kind of a sickle, or other animals, sorry, other tools like axes, temporary axes and knives and blades, although in a smaller size. That is the reason entire game has changed, entire picture has changed in the Mesolithic. Since an tool typology also got changed, we have got the new name. Why it was called Epipaleolithic? Because it was, in many parts of the world, this warmer periods or clear shifts were not seen. And also why it is called as Proto-Neolithic? Because earliest cultures, like starting with the domestication of animals and plants started. So agriculture ka base was getting laid out, or foundation for agriculture in the coming few millennia were happening, right? Foundation steps. That is the reason we call all of this as Proto-Neolithic as well. Okay, and there were other communities like Capsians and Khartoum people in the Africa in near Egypt. So again, as I told you, they've developed in the Near East. Every time remember, Near East or Middle East is the angle which you speak from the Western countries. So Middle East, Near East kya hai? From the Western countries. From Indian point of view, we call the same as West Asia. So you see, when Hindu writes an article on Israel-Palestinian conflict, it writes West Asian crisis, correct? So even when you see these newspapers, they will not write West Asia; they will write Middle East or Near East. So in the Middle East and Near East, for example, in the Fertile Crescent, I told you what are countries that are included in Fertile Crescent: Jordan, Syria, Israel of today, and also some parts of Turkey, right, and Cyprus. ये जगह होती है Fertile Crescent, and here a community called Natufian people or Natufian people. These were the early farming cultures who lived at about 10,000 BC or about 11,000, 12,000 years ago. And these people had done successful farming. Not at this stage. They were like, this is only for your illustration purpose. This is actually intensive agriculture. Intensive agriculture was not there in the Mesolithic. Please be very clear. Huh? So agriculture का नाम अभी नहीं लेना है. We have to say early farming or domestication of plants. That is okay. Okay. Then another one, and in Egypt, in Africa, that is in Egypt and Africa, there were communities like the Capsian people, and there were people in the and a place called Khartoum. So these people were the early farming cultures, and in 2020 or 21, 2020 I guess, Natufian culture करके एक question आया था in 2020, short notes. 2020, I remember very clearly. They have asked for 10 marks. So who are Natufians? So every time in general understanding, we only talk about the Mesolithic, Neolithic, Mesolithic, Upper Paleolithic. Yeah, this is cool. But anthropology requires you to put yourself in the shoes of those people who lived in the past. And archaeology, you remember, is married to anthropology. We have a clear-cut major division in the syllabus called archaeological anthropology. In fact, we are studying the anthropology of the past people. So who are these people in the Middle East? They are Natufians. They are not just Middle East people or Mesolithic people. They are some people with a culture. And similarly, we have Khartoum people and Capsian people who have domesticated plants and animals in Africa in those days.